Open a copy of the Quran, and 29 chapters begin with a structural anomaly, 14 isolated, disconnected letters. These characters, like Alif, Lam, and Mim, stand independent of any standard vocabulary, remaining an unsolved variable for over 1,000 years. Traditional scholars spent a millennium acting as mere trustees of the signal. They focused on the meticulous preservation of the phonetic hardware, reciting every stroke with mechanical precision, while maintaining that the meaning of these letters remained a total mystery. Declaring these letters unfathomable enacted a crucial, unintentional safety protocol. By pausing the search for meaning, the system entered a state of historical stasis. This protocol protected the foundational hardware of the text. It prevented decode from being corrupted or overwritten by shifting linguistic trends, by political pressures, and theological biases that shaped the intervening centuries. Every Alif, Lam, and Mim remained exactly as it was broadcast. While the physical hardware was successfully preserved for generations, the software it carries requires a separate set of tools to execute. Treating the code as an impenetrable mystery ensured its survival through a millennium of transmission. That period of preservation has served its purpose, and the time for systemic analysis has arrived. With the cognitive vocabulary of systems engineering, information theory, and empirical linguistics, we can now engage with the text's isolated letters as functional components. This analytical approach follows the text's own command, li yatadabaru. Rooted in the Arabic word for the back or conclusion of a matter, it is a direct instruction to track data to its foundational source and audit the back-end logic. The audit requires a precise definition of al-kitab. The internal evidence defines al-kitab as the differentiated data stream, the structured output of natural laws and physical realities routed into defined categories. Because this data stream is structurally differentiated, the isolated letters function as the primary differentiation parameters for the information that follows them. These headers function as a systemic alert. They reset the observer's cognitive processor to prepare for high-level root code data. The system demands to be processed by an active intellect. It contains internal operating instructions that explicitly reject passive recitation in favor of rigorous analysis. We define these isolated letters as systemic headers. They initialize the conceptual parameters for the chapter, defining the boundaries of the data stream. This forms a header-payload architecture. Isolated letters are the variable header, subsequent verses the executable payload. The payload operates strictly within parameters set by the header. Complexity scales. The header's letter count, from 1 to 5, dictates the algorithmic density of the payload data. Each letter within these headers is a phonosemantic prime. A prime is the smallest indivisible unit of meaning, a single letter carrying a fixed conceptual constant, much like a mathematical variable in an equation. These primes serve as an internal cross-referencing system. They link scattered signs throughout the operating system to ensure absolute structural consistency. These isolated letters provide the foundational metadata algorithms that organize the text's underlying laws. Performing this audit requires us to reverse semantic displacement, the process where historical traditions shift the meaning of a word away from its original root. By using the language of systems and logic, we restore the empirical rigor of the text. Every proposed definition must pass the falsifiability protocol. This is the scientific standard we apply to every phonosemantic prime. If a proposed definition for a letter contradicts the system's internal logic in even one verse, it is flawed and must be rejected. We refine these definitions through negative constraint. By identifying and eliminating what a term cannot mean, we narrow the field to the only logically consistent truth that holds across the entire data stream. This methodology treats the human mind as a cognitive processor. The text views our faculties of logic and perception as hardware, designed specifically to parse the signs of the universe. By auditing these phonosemantic primes, we identify the fixed variables that the text uses to categorize natural laws and physical reality. This reveals an encrypted system, built to be decoded once humanity developed the processing power to map the data of the physical world back to its underlying source code.